Alrighty. Good morning, boys and girls. How are we doing? Welcome in. How is everybody? Hope you're well. Thank you very much for the early birthday wishes, boys and girls. Thank you. Congrats on ding, as they say. Right, I need to post some auctions first thing this morning. And I haven't really planned anything. We could do a little bit more remix later today. I'm not even too sure. I want to try and find some goodies, find some bargains, relist some auctions, and then see where we go, really. It is Friday. We keep things as chill as possible on a Friday. No stress. No stress. Although I have found a Papal Fez for 600k, which is annoyingly tempting me to buy it. I can't lie. This flipping thing is one of the rarest drops in the game. 600k seems like an incredibly low valuation on one of these, but the sell rate and the data on these is so tiddly, I'm not even sure I want to look at this. We start by examining just how crazy of a purchase this could potentially be. Where are we looking? Undermine exchange. Apple Fez. Ignore varieties. Ignore varieties. Arbitrage mode. 500 is literally the cheapest it's available for. Somewhere. Whoa! 30th of April. Well, how was last seen 30th of April 2022? 185,000 on 4 Dragon, wherever the hell that is. 500,000 on Dragonmore. And then 600k on Draenor. Look how many of them just don't exist, though. This is one of those items that if you buy it, you could literally spend the rest of your days trying to sell it. But price-wise, it's, I wonder. The quantity of them seems to be in some sort of decline. I mean, it's tough to say, isn't it? It's gone from 30 to 20. I don't know. I'm probably not going to spend 600k on a single item. What we got going on over here? Nothing of any interest. No, that's cheap, but it's not cheap enough. Not cheap enough. Or Vambraces of Deepening Darkness. Is there, out of curiosity, is that the one recipe I still need on my leatherworking? If it is, I'll buy it just for completionist's sake. Ha! It is. That's literally the last one of the recipes that I need. Do I buy it for 20k? Where can we get that on the cheap? Vambraces. Recipes. Arbitrage mode on this. 20k. 20k is a deal, isn't it? 20k is a deal on that. Where's the cake? I don't know. I personally have planned absolutely nothing for today. I'm old enough now. I've had enough birthdays. I tend not to worry about them all that much. We're going to just probably keep things simple. A few beers, order some pizza, chill out this evening. Nothing special. The weather's absolutely trashed here, so I didn't even get to go on a reasonable dog walk this morning. So it's just sit in, play some video games, chill, relax. Nothing special. Maybe I'll go to the store, buy some cake later. Who knows? I upgraded my speed set druid's gear last night. Spent around 150k on upgrades. Went from 188 to 222. If I use cooldowns, I can get to 277. It's not even maxed out yet. Zoom, zoom. Holy. I've really never bothered with speed sets. But then again, I've also never really bothered with like farming. But if I was going to do any farming seriously, the speed druid is probably the way, isn't it? Probably the way. Arc 6 tunes by a rare over in Duskwood. 3 days of on and off trying to hit it. Got some spiked mace after about 9 kills. I've seen a few people do this, and I think it's a really good way of using ults. Really, really good way of using ults. Just if they're not really doing anything, just drop them at a random ass rare somewhere that has at least something interesting on its loot table. Turn all add-ons off so that they load in practically instantly. Load in, kill a mob. If you get it, great. If not, log out. Like, it's a 20-second job. And if you get into the habit of just banging through like 10 characters or however many ults you've got that are like not doing anything, it probably amounts to 10 minutes of like logging in, killing a mob, logging out. It's probably quite worth. Now what I do need to do though is, now that I've bought that recipe, I need to shimmy that to the right character. I need to get that into the warbank. Warbank access is a pain in the ass, isn't it? Warbank access is a real pain in the ass. God, if they make warbank access like Battle.net wide, oh, that would be the best birthday present. Legitimately the best birthday present. Whoa, what the Christ is that? Why is that so expensive? Heavy Marauders Scimitar. That's crazy expensive. More expensive than I want to tinker with. It's showing another Papal Fez here. This is going to show up a bunch because it looks like somebody has recently bought one for 1.4 million. TSM has tracked some sales data on a Papal Fez at 1.4 million, so it's going to spike the shit out of the market because one got sold. It would have been a good sale for whoever got it, though. Nice, juicy sale for whoever got it. Who got the sale, that is, not who spent 1.5 million on a random-ass transmog. That's got to be some absolute hardcore collector that goes for something like that. Absolute Giga Chad collector. Right, let's get this dude warbank access quickly. Put the recipe in there, and then my main hunter can steal it. It's the last remaining recipe I need for Kazalgar leatherworking. Right, we logged out. Right, you should get warband access now. Not a very clever one, seeing as you've shown that you could have got it for 500k. Yeah, but I mean, whoever got the sale, whoever opened 1.4 million in their mailbox is like ka-ching. You know, it shows that it does pay off eventually. And it also shows that the craziest of the crazy collectors still, you know, don't use their brains when going and buying expensive stuff. I mean, 1.5 million, what does that actually relate to if you bought that in tokens? On the EU, it's what, like 350k a token, 700, that's that's 80 real world monies. 80 real world monies for that piece of transmog. Holy. 80 real world monies. Oh, this is going to normalize my money as well. I didn't really want to do this. Alright, whatever. Where did the recipe go? Is it that one? No. Shit, where did it go? That one? Fan braces of deepening darkness. There we go, 20k. It's a deal. It's a steal. Sale of the f***ing century. Speedgear.io. It's better than the Undermine Exchange. Just only shows items with speed on it. Oh, clever. Let me also recommend wowpaytowin.com if you're after BOEs. Wait, is that actually a website? Wowpaytowin.com? Are you memeing here? This tool scans for BOEs in every auction house in each region. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, today I learned. I knew about speedgear.io. I didn't know about this one. That's funny. This is clearly just made by one of the, like, probably made by one of the Echo or Limit guys or something. They use it trying to find a good deal on the Mythic Ring. Ah! Okay, that's really quite clever. Highlights the secondary stats on it. Crit verse. Verse on this ring by default, is it? Looks like verse is on the ring by default. Must have socket. 100k for 675 must have socket. Can you then specify the item level? 723. 723s with a socket basically don't exist. Is that because 723s don't exist? What's the cap? 7 something? 714? Is that as high as they go? Is 714 the mythic version of it? 3 of 6 myth version. Obviously, you can then upgrade it. Must have a socket on it. Holy! Look at the price of those BOEs. Look at the price of those puppy dogs. 3 mil. 3 mil. This by the Undermine Exchange dev is old, but very flexible if you're after specific items with particular secondaries. Everythingnothing.net, region auction house search, not a sexy UI, but very powerful. Hot damn. Rings with a socket is a waste. I'm of the opinion buying raid BOEs is a waste, full stop. But as we have previously mentioned, there are players out there that have more money than sense who genuinely don't care. I reckon there's people that probably every tier just buy a gold cap worth of shit, worth of tokens, just to flex on their guild. To spend, like, what's a gold cap worth of guild? What's a gold cap worth of 350, 7 mil is like 400 bucks. That's probably about 500 euros for a gold cap these days, isn't it? In terms of tokens. There's people out there that will spend 500 bucks in on a tier just to flex on people without question. People who make money with boosting have a budget for BOEs. True. True. I mean, at that point, it becomes almost an investment, doesn't it? If you're boosting people, you want your gear to be the absolute tippity top it possibly can be. Or a smoother journey. always buys BOEs when the prices get reasonable. Time is money. It is. I'll give you a free pass, Woo, because you're a billionaire. I'll give you a free pass. If you've hit the billion mark in World of Warcraft, then I'm not going to argue any of your gold rate related decisions. Those are some pretty spicy prices, though. These are interesting websites. I almost should put a bit of a favorites list together of these, shouldn't I? Useful WoW tools websites. The fact that WoW pay to win is a website though is hysterical to me. Oh my god! I nearly just knocked my coffee over. That would have been a level of tragic. Right. Anyway, what was I doing? What was I doing? Oh, let's kill some rares on these dudes as well. Do I have warband access now? I do. Let me grab that recipe out. Where'd he go? Embraces of Deepening Darkness. Yoink. 100. That is all Khazalgar leatherworking recipes acquired. 100. Stupid bismuth keeps going up in price. Welcome in, Jack. How we doing? How we doing? It's surprising what materials are doing. It goes to show that this tier is really quite grabbing people, I think, from a raiding perspective. That stuff still and secondly to that, it shows that farming is hella boring and nobody wants to do it. It's almost the entire market seems to be pretty much entirely letting flipping skinning bots do skinning things, and then alchemy is converting everything else. Any single individual that's going out and doing any farming right now is probably just farming cloth in follower dungeons. I would imagine that's like 30k an hour right now with the price of cloth. If you've got a very optimized bismuth miner, you can probably be making 30k an hour these days as well. But I've not looked into it in too much detail. This tier, the LFR BOEs are so cheap. Anybody who collects mogs should be buying them all and upgrading them to get the normal mog. Yeah, I've never really thought about that. Taking the low cheap shit and then upgrading it. But then again, I also don't care about collecting the mog, so it's not something I give too much brain power to. The Cutting Edge Raider friend, he says this raid tier is much better than the previous one. They're 6 out of 8 at the moment, and they're raiding 3 times a week. And they need all the consumables they can get their hands on, and this is just one guild. It's, you know, goes to show the economy booms if the raid is good. This entire game revolves around the raid. The raid is good, gold making's good. If the raid's trash, we'll still make gold, but it'll be a bit more of a grind. Factual information. Right, let's kill some rares. Feel as if I'm shouting. I'm going to turn my tunes down just a touch. One shot Nexus King last night. Good effort. Good effort. 7 of 8 on Heroic, got 2 hours Monday to wallop Dementius. Curve, here we come. It's nice to hear so many people are enjoying the raid. It's very good to hear that late in the expansion it's still able to pull people's interest. No rares to kill anywhere on any of these dudes, apparently. Killing 1 rare on a whole team feels real gross, but there is so few shards spinning up at the moment for the Undermine. Unless you've got super duper hyper optimized teams, it can be a bit of a pain in the ass to kill the rares at the moment. Which is why I've not been doing it all that frequently. Just the fights are much better. Well, that's cool. Shows that there's some solid design effort going into it. What the Christ on a bicycle is going on in Discord? Why have I got... What the Christ is going on here, Bear? Why have I got 4 pings from... 4 pings from Bear's chat? What's going on? Oh, okay. Oh, I see what it is. Right, auctions first. What's going on here? Why are some of these claiming craft sims updated? What's going on? I'm still very pre-coffee this morning, so I'm not really in a rhythm yet. Not really in a rhythm at all. Now my music's too quiet. Can't find the balance this morning. Here's a question for you guys. I'm looking to buy some active speakers for the PC setup. They need to sound reasonable, but they also need to not cost $1 billion. I'm looking for active ones because I really don't want a separate amp. I'd rather them, you know, be preamped. Does anybody have suggestions? Back with Jack being here, I would use a bit of an audiophile. Mostly because I don't want to sit here with headphones all the time, to be brutally honest. They do need to have the advantage, though. They need to be reasonably small. Now, I know small and speakers aren't like 2 phrases that go well together, but if they're smaller and weightier, then they might still be okay. Because, of course, I have 3 screens, I have 2 lights, I have a camera mount, I have my microphone arm. Space is kind of limited. KRK Rocket. What are these? Rockets. We have links. Do we have links, or should I just Google it? Oh, they do Diddy ones. Yeah, cookies, whatever. They do Diddy ones. I've seen these. Oh, they're quite cute. See, that's sort of... Now, if this is even remotely to scale, although I would say this whole image looks very photoshopped, if these are even remotely to scale, they don't look too bad. If they do... They do active monitors. Oh, Jesus, I don't know. Gen 4s? Powered studio monitors. Editor makes some reasonably sized ones as well. Yeah, I think I've seen those. 5-inch, 7-inch. They do them in white. Would prefer them in white. Of course, they don't do the mini ones in white. Always love it when a website has no indication of price. Oh, shop online dealers. US dealers? No. Okay, we're gonna have to Google these, aren't we? Rocket 5 Gen 4. Hang on. Rocket 5 Gen 4. Rocket 5 Gen 4s. Okay, these are proving to be difficult to buy in Finland. Not impossible. Okay, I'll look into those a little bit more later. I prefer them white. Quickly, someone clicked that. Oh, shush. Can you suggest any online resources for multi-boxing? Not easily. It depends what you're looking to do. Multi-boxing isn't really so much of a thing these days. There's a distinction to be made between having multiple accounts up and running at the same time, like I have, and actually true old school style multi-boxing. Old school style multi-boxing isn't really a thing in WoW anymore. And if you're just doing this, then it's just a case of, you know, having multiple accounts open. It's not really, It's mostly because with the fact that you can't share your input across multiple accounts these days basically makes old school multi-boxing just a no-go. It's not worth the time or the effort. Prefers 5 to 7 inches in white. Flipping hell. Well, it's because, as they say, when you go black, you never go back. So... we're going to lean into the meme. Lean into it properly, shall we? Right, any goodies? No Blackwood nut samples today. Unfortunately, Blizzard is a touch more cautious these days with its jokes, with its funnies. The hell's a discarded experiment, and do I want it for 10 gold? Sure, a pet for 10 gold. We'll flip it for 1,000 somewhere. None of that I care about particularly. Enchanted lanterns on the cheap. They're also a bit of a pain to shift, these ones. They can still be spread around. The pacifier? I haven't collected this appearance. Well, for 100 gold, then we'll at least get an appearance out of it. Check Yamaha and Presonus. You can get those in Finland. Adam Audio, a little bit more budget. I don't mind spending money if it's on something that's good. But I equally don't want to really spend more than, you know, 300 euros if I can get away with it. Because they are literally just bonus speakers for when I don't want to wear headphones, you know. If I want to put music on, for example, I'm not, you know, I already have a full setup for that. This is just for some background audio while at the PC, and maybe a bit of game sounds that's not coming through a monitor, because monitor audio is offensive to my ears. Why do Quick Yosemons have a DB region sale average of flipping 99,000 gold? What's gone on there? Who's made an absolute massive whoopsie doodah and bought one of those? Somebody's done a balls up at some point. Right. Nothing turning up there sniper-wise. We kill some rares. Right, the next question is, where are the rares? Are there any rares up anywhere? This one is claiming that thwack tally everybody is up, but I'm not sure if I believe it. I think that's old info. Looks a lot like fake news to me. Oh, it looks like he was up, but now he's dead. Probably should do rare killing first before I do anything else. Swigs and Slugger, apparently. Is it true? It is. It is true. Razor Nomo V2. Unfortunately, I'm not going to buy anything that has the Razor brand on it. Not for speakers. In fact, probably not for anything, unfortunately. I appreciate the suggestion, but I'm not looking for Razor products. If they wish to sponsor me, I'll use some of their kit, but otherwise I'm not buying it. I've had too many Razor products die on me way before they should do. But that's personal preference. Who's this? Tally. That's a good one. Shots fired. Not so much. It's just, you know, when a brand has done you disservice, then I stick to my guns. I stick to my guns. Why do you need audio speakers? Like I said, it's mostly just a convenience thing. A bit of Number one, so I don't have to be wearing headphones all the time. And can have some basic game sounds in the background, a bit of background music. It's, like I said, it doesn't need to be anything special. But I hate the sound of cheap speakers. So even though it's not really anything special, they need to be at least semi-reasonable quality. My wife walks around the house holding an iPad watching TV, and it drives me absolutely fucking bananas because the audio quality out of an iPad is borderline terrible. But apparently it doesn't bother her. It's just one of the things, you know. You're going to use it as much as your TV. Look, just because I'm not using the TV whilst streaming doesn't mean the TV doesn't get any use. The TV gets plenty of use. And like I said, when I'm not streaming and I want to listen to music, I put it on the proper system. This is just for when at the PC and also probably streaming. She's getting easier to spot. She is, we weighed her again yesterday. When we got her, she was 3.1 kilos. And I weighed her again yesterday, and she's 4.6 kilos now. So even though we've only had her a few weeks, they genuinely do grow fat. Like, I don't notice it because this dog is with me like 12 hours plus a day. I don't notice the fact that every day she gets that little bit bigger, but yeah, she's definitely getting easier to spot. Growing fast. I'm not surprised the amount of food and zooms she does. Really? I'm watching you now on an iPad? Each to their own. I just can't do it. It's like you know, even if I'm watching YouTube videos or something off my phone, I would 99% rather put some headphones in for the audio than have it come out of a little half a watt speaker. Nitro Swigs, Tally Thwack. We've killed the set. Right, good. Move on. One thing I missed dearly once I moved into my own apartment, and that's the dog. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. The literal definition of man's best friend. We as humans, we don't deserve dogs. They're far too kind. Hence why I have 3 dogs. You're only allowed one significant other in most Western tradition and traditional traditions anyway. You might only be allowed one significant other. You can have multiple dogs. 3 dogs and only 1 wife, exactly. Who barks the loudest? Wouldn't you like to know? Yeah, some countries are slightly more flexible in that regard, but I'm not even convinced that having multiple significant others is actually an advantage. Five cougars, thanks. That's another way to do it. Get yourself a few sugar mummies. Could have asked something else, but I'm not doing that out of respect for Mrs. Mantis. But she don't watch the stream. Right, is that the team? That's all 4 that I care about. I haven't killed Slugger on this lot. Is Slugger up out of curiosity? Every other rare was up.
Again?
No.
Always looking for trouble. Well,
and since we're here, why not kill Sal as well?
a crate of inflated balloons got loose, and now they're all over the place. Go on the roof and shoot a few down, yeah?
Go on the roof and shoot a few down. Woof. Topical. Shoot a few who down? Are they all bitches? Yes. Yes. They're all body too. Alright. Killed all the rares. Let's do some auction housey stuff. I tend not to do the wombo combo of doing rares, searching for deals, and listing auctions, because it does end up taking quite substantially longer to work through all of the teams, but got time to kill today. All good. The Matagy is making me my second million this week. Yeah, I bet there's some good money in it. I bet there's some really good money in it this week. I've been doing it. I've been doing a little bit myself. Not a huge amount, because it clogs up my 4 bonus accounts to do it, but yeah, I've had the thaumaturgy mill spinning a little bit this week. Thaumaturgy is great for as long as the prices are still, for whatever reason, steadily rising. It's when we kind of hit the peak and they start dipping that you want to turn off your thaumaturgy mill. Otherwise, you'll end up losing money accidentally. Hurry up, Midnight Alpha. It is taking its sweet time, I will give you that. I kind of I chalked up most of September for testing alpha stuff. I was pretty convinced most of September we would be in alpha mode. It turns out that I mean, if Remix starts on October the 7th, I really don't want alpha to clash too aggressively with Remix. Especially now that they've lifted the artificial wall on gearing in Remix. If they're going to let us grind out all the way to superpower levels from day one, I will be playing Remix 60 hours a week. Although, I was doing some testing on Remix last night, and crunching some numbers. There's deterministic gear in Mythic Plus, which is going to make gearing up to capping your gear at 740 will be most optimally done via just straight spamming Mythic Plus dungeons. As annoying as that sounds, that is literally going to be the most optimal way to gear up. Because each key level is dropping a certain item level of gear. So you can spend a few hours running some Mythic Plus dungeons every day with you and 4 friends. You would probably also want to do dungeons, Mythic Plus dungeons, at a point where you can just switch off your brain and blast them. But you will be able to slowly inch your way up as you gear up more. And unfortunately, from what I can gather, there is no better way than just absolutely blasting Mythic Plus dungeons, because every other method of gameplay is going to incrementally, it's hard to describe, but the fact that you can target specific item level gear by doing certain keys will mean that it will be the most optimal way to level up. You might do your raids, kill the raid bosses daily, of whichever raids are open, dependent on the phase. You'll kill the raid bosses every day, because they are going to almost each raid boss is almost a guaranteed item, a guaranteed upgrade, assuming it drops gear for you. But of course, you can only kill the raid bosses once a day. You're going to kill the raid bosses once a day, and then you're going to spam Mythic Plus until your brain says no more. And if you don't have that group of friends to blast with, you will probably revert to doing world content. But it's not going to feel quite the same as because there's that path of least resistance in Mythic Plus. It will unfortunately be the optimal way to gear up as well. Which this is only personal preference, but it's a frustration to me because I don't really like the Mythic Plus landscape. Although Giga blasting it in Remix could make it slightly more enjoyable. Feels like we're going to have a month between finishing Remix and Midnight. Yeah. Yeah, Remix, if it launches in October 7th, November, December, January, and then there's probably going to be about a month of downtime after Remix for or probably pre-patch in retail before Midnight goes live. But if it takes them any longer to launch Alpha, we are starting to have to consider that it might be a March launch date for Midnight. Since all my calculations for February launch were sort of based upon them starting the Alpha early in September. But like I said, it's all slightly guesswork and it's all still slightly open to interpretation because I bet Blizzard doesn't even know properly yet. In October we have the spooky event. In November we also have the anniversary event. Yeah, the irony is that the 6 months up until the launch of an expansion are now starting to look only a few expansions ago. The 6 months run up to an expansion was just a graveyard for players. That you had flipping nothing to do. Now it seems to be the exact opposite. There seems to be more going on in the run up to a new expansion than there is like at almost any other point. Because they're stacking the events right now. Oh, somebody kill... No, okay, Nitro's here again. I mean, it's definitely not a complaint in any way, shape, or form. More is always more. But this is also simultaneously why I fight so hard against flipping time gating, because when there's lots on the table for you to do, you want to cherry pick when you do the things that you do, and there's nothing more frustrating than being told you can't continue doing the thing you want to do, and then as soon as you get to continue doing that thing, they launch something else alongside it, and then you have to start splitting your time up. And I don't like splitting my time up. Quantity over quality, in my opinion. Well, yes, I will always take quality over quantity. Absolutely. Many agrees. Sometimes my dude spawns in, but the long boy then doesn't have its vendors, which is weird. It's only been happening since the latest, since 11.2. I can see first, second week of March. Get that end of quarter boost. Well, I've also sort of, yeah, it's also true that Q1 is a terrible time to launch a product for Blizzard. Most businesses don't like doing huge launches in Q1 because nobody's got any money. So, launching late in Q1 with a spillover in Q2 might actually be more sensible from a business perspective. And unfortunately, Blizzard is far too big of a company to not follow the money. Don't launch when GTA 6 does. Well, this is another thing that you've got to consider. GTA 6 is what, March? No, May, sorry. GTA 6 has been delayed until May, which means you absolutely categorically do not want to clash with GTA 6. Because the rest of the world is going to turn off when GTA 6 launches. This is why I would kind of really hope they do launch in February, because then that gives you February, March, and April. You got a good solid 3 months for the launch of the expansion. And to see out the big Zerg hype phase of Season 1 before everybody runs off and plays GTA 6, myself included. I still have a PlayStation sat down here that's still in its box that I bought specifically for playing GTA 6 that I've not even plugged in or switched on once yet since they delayed it, but fuck GTA 6, couldn't care less. I unfortunately do not fall in that category. I will absolutely be playing GTA 6 until I've completed it when it comes out. Maybe that's why they put the pre-sale, quote-unquote, before June 2026 or whatever it was, to give them some flexibility to dodge GTA 6. Isn't the PC release on the same day? No. PC launch will probably come a whole calendar year after. It's exclusive on consoles, which is hence why I bought a PS5 Pro. It's cheap enough to flip. Dark Moon Hatchling, half price. That's cheap enough to flip. Lamplighter gear. Easy flip on this stuff. Love myself some Lamplighter. Made a pretty penny on Lamplighter gear already. Quick Q Emerald. There's no way that's actually 500 gold. What are people doing? Um, 75 gold recipes. I find it very hard to turn down those. Oh, especially when there's multiple of them. Ha! Lol. That's complete bait. That's complete bait. But I need the appearance, so even if I vendor it. And then nothing going on over here. Right. Auctions listed, rares killed. Snipers sniped. Next team. What a bad idea. Rockstar never launch on PC. I don't think any of their games they've ever launched on PC. They've always been console first. And I'm going to be brutally honest. As much as I am a #1 PC gamer, I totally get why they do it. I totally get why they do it. Look at how many PC games launch and they're almost ruined by the fact that they are just riddled with performance issues. Launch on console first, because you've got two pieces of, two configurations of hardware that you need to optimize for. Make sure it fucking works. Sign a deal with either Microsoft or Sony for exclusivity, or sign up for a deal with a console bundle. Still literally print money, and then have the opportunity to have an entire second launch a year later when it comes out on PC. It annoyingly is the clear and obvious way to do it. On PC it'll run 100 times better. Usually not at launch. Like I said, look how many PC games launch these days and are just riddled with performance issues. Because you've got a billion different hardware configurations. Testing for those and ensuring that they work. Look how many times, like, we have day one NVIDIA drivers and people have all sorts of weird shit going on. It's the only significant downside of PC gaming, that performance issues will be a thing. And even if you have, even if you have an absolute monster of a PC, you can't throw money at the problem to fix it sometimes, because, if hardware just doesn't work properly with it, Only 0.001 of people will buy a console for the game. No. For many games, I would agree with you, but your Call of Duties, your Grand Theft Autos, your Spider-Mans, these are games, these are franchises that sell hardware. That's exactly why they do it. I've worked for Sony in the past. I've sold PlayStations to, firsthand. Like, the exclusive bundled games with consoles sell consoles. And scarily, they sell consoles very, very well. People will even replace their old console or buy a new one with a new game. Especially if there is a discount on the price of the game or console when buying the bundle. People will retire their 3-year-old PlayStation into another room. They'll get the new PlayStation for the living room. This happens a lot. Living shoulder recipe? Nada. Ooh, what we sold here? 27k. Rebel Spike Waders? I wonder if that was a 649 item, maybe. Frost Saber Tunic recipe. Adamantite Breastplate recipe. A few recipes, we take those. Stop buying consoles after the PS2. I'll gladly wait for a PC release. Yeah, I mean, like, as I always say, each to their own. But always remember, just because it's not of value to you doesn't mean it's of incredible value to somebody else. Just look at how many people will upgrade their PC for a new game. Battlefield 6 is about to come out. And Battlefield 6 will be one of those things that will drive the sale of new graphics cards. Because it's Battlefield 6 is very, very, very... It's... How do I describe it? It's probably one of the first games I've seen that genuinely looks next-gen. We've not had a game that really looks and feels next-gen for quite a while. Battlefield 6 is really doing that. I think the fact that they chose not to launch it on the old consoles, only the new consoles and PC, has given them the ability to like push the boat out with it. And look how many people will buy a new graphics card to be able to min-max their Battlefield game, right? It's the same as buying a new console. A console's $300, $400, $500 for most people. A new graphics card can be upwards of €1,000 plus. It's exactly the same concept. Good games sell hardware. And FPS games probably do a better job of it as well. And this is hence why things like Call of Duty are always bundled. And Nvidia will do promos like a free copy of this game with a purchase of a graphics card sort of thing. It's the same bundles exist in the PC world. Don't understand how it's possible to play something remotely complex. Something beside fighting and racing games on a console must be very inconvenient. Then I've never had a console except for the first. As a Nintendo as a kid. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. That's all I can say. It's easy not to upgrade and skip these things when you live in a country where inflation is the highest of all of the EU. Yeah. Yeah, money's always a problem. I know you're not a gathering guy, but do you perhaps know if anybody has tested Koresh gathering versus normal routes in Kazalgar? I don't know of any actual, like, scienced data. But the supply of Koresh materials makes me think that it's still definitely worth flying around Koresh. Because if it wasn't, there wouldn't be anywhere near as many materials as there is floating about. Money can't buy happiness, but it can buy consoles. Money can buy a lot of things. Happiness is not one of it, though. Money makes life easier, it doesn't make life better. A fiery war axe. They're cool. It's also epic, which means it's an easy flip. Rocket boots extreme light. What the Christ are you? Crafted, clearly. Another one of these random ass schematics. I think I've got a few of these now. Nothing going on there. Nothing that grabs my eye there. Ah, too cheap. Cheap, but not cheap enough. Next team. In case you got nuked by the ad, TLDR is I don't have numbers behind it, but Koresh still seems very viable. No interesting rares up anywhere? You shitting me? We're all on the different shards? 38, 38, 43, 43, 34. We're on three different shards. Whack. Would love a PS5, grew up with consoles. I miss playing with friends on the couch and just hanging out having a good time. Yeah, consoles is just different vibes, isn't it? Consoles is just very different vibes. I must admit, some of my better memories as a kid was like getting a bunch of friends or cousins or something round, and we'd all like, you know, plug in the four-way adapters to the PlayStations and whatever to play some local multiplayer. It was always really fun. There was one game on the PlayStation. I can't remember what PlayStation it was. Probably PlayStation 2. Called Mashed. I don't know how many people are going to remember this. It was like a Micro Machines rip-off kind of game. Slightly more 3D than Micro Machines. But me and my cousins used to play that, and we were literally wetting ourselves laughing playing that, and we would do it for days on end. Literal days on end. Now, a lot of people have fond memories of, like, you know, all-way GoldenEye and that sort of stuff. Local multiplayer was cool back in the day. Not so much of a thing anymore because it's all online, and it doesn't quite have the same vibes when you're all sat in your own rooms. You can get close to it if you're all in like Discord or something, but still not quite the same as all being there in person. Crash Bandicoot, best game ever made. Love me a bit of Crash. Love a bit of Crash Bandicoot. Not any good at it, mind, but do still love me a bit of Crash Bandicoot. Right, not many rares to kill apparently today. This team. Not the end of the world. Oh, Slugger's just turned up on this realm, actually. In that case, we will do Slugger. Slugger's drop rate seems to be too good to ignore him.
Well, maybe you should let him know they found it.
He's got nearly a 5% drop rate on Mechanicas, I feel. Which, when you're doing that on 5 accounts, means one kill is like 25% chance to get a 25% chance to get a Mechanica. So he's far too good to ignore. Which 25% chance to get a Mechanica still probably means he's worth about 10,000 gold every kill to me. Okay. Oh, there's a swigs going on here and all. Oh, I'm too late to that party. Shit. Khadgar Fox, Dark Moon Fox. Hello, hello. 73 Volpiras. I spot another team. No big juicy sales. Is it worth flipping the Koresh stuff at the resource market vendors? I thought I was tripping, but the prices on the vendors rotate daily. Yeah, they do. Yeah, the prices do change. If you're farming them, I wouldn't worry. I'd just sell them. Leave that to people who are paying more attention. You're probably unlikely to add much value by waiting for the right day anyway. If you're farming materials, just sell them. And soon as they end up being a price that makes it not worth your while, stop farming. Wouldn't it be closer to 22.6? I have no idea what we're talking about. Oh, chance for the. I mean, more accurately probably, but napkin maths here. Usually farm some herbs and all while I'm stuck in a meeting. Make money whilst making money. Big brain. That's how we do. That's how you do. Sleep. You over there, Nibs. Probably want some drink, don't you? Hang on, my Doge is thirsty. Please hold. Much as I dislike farming, it is indeed more profitable than crafting for an average Joe. Yeah, I mean that's very true. Warlords crafted. Not too keen on pissing about with crafted stuff, honestly. Even though it is cheap. I always, yeah, more and more as time goes on, the effect of the region-wide auction house is making crafting remarkably difficult to profit from. When you also have to take into consideration the cost of getting it up to speed in the first place. You have to be doing something. I reckon most people these days probably don't make any profit from crafting. Most people probably struggle to recuperate the cost of leveling it. Because even if you do make some gold, you're clawing back a deficit for quite a while. And when so very quickly markets end up being like single-digit profit margins, you have to be doing it at a reasonable scale. a scale which is often far surpassed what most people are willing to do, is what I've noticed in. Now that we've had the effect of the region-wide auction house for a couple of expansions almost in full, it's really driven home the fact for me that crafting is basically farming in disguise these days. It's not far different from, especially since the way that the crafting systems sort of dictate you spending a large amount of time on them as well. The fact that the way to generate any sort of significant margin with crafting these days is to vertically integrate every step of the process, which kind of pushes you into a category where you have to just stand there AFK processing materials for large quantities of time, which fundamentally makes it the same as farming. You have to invest a huge amount of time into doing it. The advantage with crafting for me was always that you could buy some materials, craft some things, and add value, 20% on top of that. And it would be quite regular and quite consistent. And the way to scale it was just to add more professions to your repertoire. Yeah, in essence, it created crafting to be relatively passive. It was passive in terms of the fact you'd spend 20 minutes buying materials and crafting things and putting them on the auction house, but then you'd come back to it the next day and you would have hoped to have sold most of that overnight. That was the passive nature of it. But now that logging on and spending 20 minutes quickly crafting a bunch of things isn't that viable when you have to first spend an hour prospecting or an hour unraveling before then another 20 minutes making bolts, before then another 20 minutes turning them into epic bolts, and then to make the epic bolts you need to also then go and disenchant a bunch of stuff. Like, that's the only way to extract real value from it now. And all of that time spent doing those individual components, I fully understand why some people are like, yeah, screw all of that. Literally screw all of that. I'm just going to go pick up herbs. Crafting is or for at least as long as they choose to not really update the crafting professions patch on patch, which they realistically haven't, well, they haven't updated professions at all in the War Within, and they hardly did it in the war in Dragonflight. Leads me to believe that they're probably not going to update the professions at all in Midnight either. Makes me think that Season 1 is a crafting season, and Season 2 and Season 3 is go out and farm something if you want to continue making gold. Missing swigs and tally. No swigs, no tally up anywhere. That's annoying. Right, we'll move on to selling stuff then. Nightfall, Shadow, Walker's Rod. Okay. It also is leaning me into wondering just how we approach Midnight Alpha and Beta this time round. Historically, I've put 99% of my focus on figuring out the crafting professions. But I equally know that that's just not as valuable a thing to be spending the time on anymore. Stay for hours near the bench making something, then spend hours fighting others on the auction house during peak times. A PhD in Googling. It's incredible how that's actually a skill, though. Mrs. Manthius, for example, somehow can never find the information she's looking for, ever. And I just open Google and go, and I have the answer. Like, and I don't really think I do anything particularly clever, but some people are better at Googling than others. And I don't know how that's possible, but it's definitely a thing. Don't forget the price is dumping while you are processing. Prices dumping whilst you are processing is both frustrating and also a fault on your behalf, because that means you probably bought at too high a price in the first place. This is why solely relying on spreadsheets and add-ons and things is also very dangerous to do. If there's room for the market to dump in value from you buying to when you sell, you probably spent too much. But this is one of those, you know, that's the skill gap in crafting now. It's kind of brutal. It really does reward those who go the extra mile to really make sure that they're getting their materials at the cheapest possible time. Even if it's so much as to just straight up not do anything that day because you know tomorrow or the day after the materials are likely to be 20% cheaper. And then when you do know them to be at the cheapest point, you need to have the ability to buy en masse to last you until they become cheap again, potentially even a week later. I mean, for the most part, it's almost far too much like hard work for somebody like me, even who really enjoys it. Is why I understand why people like just can't be bothered with it. But Blizzard simplifying the professions, by the way, isn't going to make this any easier. It's just going to remove variables and squish everything even harder. I understand the call for simplifying the professions, but the act of simplifying them will still not result in what people want, right? It's my belief has always been that the outcries that the professions are too complicated and the professions are too hard is rooted in the fact that those same individuals don't see a way to extract any gold from them. That if they were printing money, they'd figure it out really quickly. Because it's not actually rocket science. Sure, the actual mechanics of like multi-craft and resourcefulness until you craft in bulk can be a little bit random. That randomness disappears if you craft 100 of a thing. And if you could craft 100 of a thing and make a sizable amount of gold off it, people wouldn't be hating it. People would be praising it as the best thing that's ever happened. So I understand why the outcry is for simplifying them. And I also sort of understand why Blizzard is doing it. But sell price 100 gold, that's going to have a vendor value that's absolutely disgusting. That's going to cost $1 billion to put in the auction house. We're not trying to flip those. Nothing over here. Wow, there's no deals going on today. Struggling for bargains today. Struggling for rares, struggling for bargains, not made many sales. This is bad birthday mojo. Maybe it means I'm going to find a winning lottery ticket on the floor or something later. You're seeing it from a Goblin perspective, from a casual scrub perspective. I want it to be easier for me to craft things for myself and my alts, not to make gold. Yeah. I've lived through multiple expansions though, and I've seen the same pattern happen multiple times, which is that whenever they add something new to the game, it takes most players the entire expansion to even learn that that thing exists. Never mind figure out how to use it. So much so that we have concentration right now. We've had concentration for the entire expansion, and yet I still do not believe that most people have figured out what it even does. Because you can take pretty much the most hacked together, hyper unoptimized profession, random ass selection of materials that you may have gathered yourself or have lying around in your war bank, or even go and buy from the auction house, and you can press one button, boom, concentration, and you can make that thing at top quality. From that perspective, that one button solves all of the problems that anybody has with the professions. But I truly believe that even after almost an entire expansion, people haven't realised that it even exists, or what it's for, or how it works. They just... And this is because the first impression from Dragonflight was probably not great. Crafting is, yes, difficult to optimize. If you are trying to extract gold from it. But in relation to crafting some basic stuff, crafting a few select items for yourself, it's very straightforward. Other than creating gear. Gear is hyper convoluted, and I've said that literally since day one. That people looking to craft gear should have a significantly easier time of doing it. The fact that you have to buy all of the materials, understand what materials you need, then figure out what missives you need, figure out what enchanted crest you might need, figure out if you need an augment to get it to the actual top item level, figure out what crests you need for the right augment. Crafting gear is fucking ridiculous, but consumables is dead simple. You can hack together a profession to make your own consumables within an hour. But gear crafting is absolutely grim. Yeah, I'll give you that. There's myriads of crafts where it's better to buy items from the auction house and use them on profitable crafts that yields better gold per hour than doing the entire chain ground up. Possibly. Whoa, hello. What's this? 187,000 gold. What do we sell over here? Yo! What the Christ on a bicycle? Blue and silver armor? Hello. There's a scribe that needed to finish their collection. Blue and silver armor. What did we buy that for? Woo! That's a spicy flip. Holy. Bought 4 of them at about less than 5k a piece. Sold 1 for 190,000 gold. Sheesh. Don't mind if I do. That makes up for the fact that we've sold nearly sweet FA on the rest of the realms so far. Wait, it's your birthday today, right? Correct, yes. Having to get all of the stupid points and figuring out where to put them to craft the stuff you need, especially if you're trying to make gear for multiple alts. Yeah, I will give you that 100%. Crafting gear is an absolute mess. Crafting gear is an utter mess right now. Consumables, on the other hand, are very simple, very straightforward. If you want to make a jewel crafter to make your own gems for you and all of your alts, it's a 10-minute job. You want to make an alchemist to make all of your flasks and potions for your alts, it's a 10-minute job. Because you do not need to be that optimized with the professions in any way, shape, or form.
Sweet profit
You could
together.
probably almost entirely ignore the spec trees. Get yourself some basic profession tools, level your profession up to 50, buy some Q2 materials, and then hit the concentration button. GG. It's really very simple and very straightforward with the addition of concentration. But gear crafting is an absolute mess. Muppet with a 13 months. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. You kept that quiet. Happy birthday. I don't make a big song and dance out of it. I don't make a big song and dance out of it IRL, so I don't feel overly comfortable making a big song and dance about it on stream either. But thank you. Crafting a max level piece is like doing a 500 piece jigsaw. It's bloody annoying. Yeah, and I don't, like, I've said for a long time, I really don't understand why it's the person that wants the piece of gear being made that has to do 90% of the legwork. The crafter literally presses 3 buttons. And that's such a gross argument for us to hear as the crafters a lot of the time. Oh, you just press 3 buttons. Because it's thrown at us as the excuse to why people don't want to tip us for doing the thing. But we've preloaded all of our effort by leveling the profession and getting the spec points and keeping up to speed and getting our profession tools and stuff. We've preloaded all of the work so that it's just a 3-button process when somebody needs us to do it. But, you know, if you go and try and put in a crafting order for a piece of gear, like, the process involved of doing it is flipping. It's a 25-step process that's totally unnecessary. I like the idea of having 2 of each, not for gear crafting, but for profession tool crafting. Completely self-sufficient and occasionally make some gold with crafting orders. It's a route that a lot of people went at the beginning of the expansion, and some people will have kept up with it throughout most of the expansion as well. The thing is that gear crafting, profession tool crafting, a lot of crafters will do all of that in-house. One thing I did see is that very few people are out there looking for profession tools to be made, because those same people who are actually looking to optimize their professions probably have also given themselves the ability to make their own, and they just send a work order to their own alt. I mean, it was very high on my priority list to make sure that my professions could make the profession tools for all of my alts, so that I didn't have to find somebody to do it. But that was a decision made at the beginning of the expansion before, like, Craft Scan became so popular. 75 gold recipe. I buy these almost by default these days. That's the companion one, not the pet. I ignore those. Sometimes it's cheap to buy those and turn them into the pets, but I can't be bothered figuring out the maths. 75 gold recipe. 75 gold recipe. Even if we put these in the bin at the end of the day for 75 gold, you can't go wrong. Straight cosmetic. Sure. Actually, how many of these are there? 3? Alright, we'll have all 3. Quad Deathblow X44s. I've seen a few of these knocking about. Clearly some people out there farming Sunwell. I wonder if Sunwell has piqued people's farming interest again because of Midnight. That feels like it could be a thing. I've crafted 1 blue tool for people in the last week and a half. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely something that any reasonable crafter will probably do. Craft for themselves, if you know what I mean. Profession tools were pretty good this expansion. Not many people are willing to spend Acuity or Kej on the recipes early on. So if you had dedicated profession tool crafters that you actually had Acuity specifically for, that was a lot of free gold in trade chat early on. Yeah, at the beginning of the expansion, when everybody was leveling them up, it was good gold. But also it highlights the downside of that they didn't update professions at all in any way, shape, or form throughout the expansion, meaning that all the business was in Season 1. Season 2, Season 3, very little going on because people already had them. You know, already done.
Dog fuse. Again? Always looking for trouble.
Whereas people have needed to recraft their gear every season, people have never needed to recraft their profession tools. And I'm shocked, right? For both Dragonflight and The War Within, I was convinced they were going to release like an epic tier of profession tools later on in the expansion. That's like a catch-up mechanic. Whereas it was difficult to reach, you know, thresholds to like guarantee top quality crafts throughout a period of time. You know, slap a whole bunch of extra skill on an epic set of profession tools late in the expansion seemed like an obvious thing to do to, you know, ease out the remainder of the expansion and set people up for starters to give crafters something to do again, but second tier of profession tools I would have put money on them doing, but I would have clearly lost that money. Made almost a mil on the green tools just from blacksmithing at the launch though, so it swings and roundabouts. Now I have a fully fledged every server in the EU setup. There is part of me that might very heavily consider just absolutely smashing the crap out of any early Season 1 BOEs. If they're profession tools, sure. If they're anything else, we can still craft up, have one dude crafting, and the distribution can all be via the war bank, and we can syndicate crafts across every realm very quickly. Now, obviously, so can everybody else, in theory, but the reason you make a lot of profit in Season 1 is because everybody else is out there actually playing the game. Where's all me rares? Only Slugger. 49, 49, 49, 43, 46. We're on 3 different shards. Why can I not get any rares to spawn? Oh well. If we're going to hang about, let's get the auction house stuff done. I'll kill some rares after. What did we sell here? Nixia scale and cloak. Nothing anywhere else. When recrafting a weapon, say, do you need the old weapon and the thing from the crests only, or do you need the other mats also? A recraft costs roughly 50% of the base materials needed. Yes. So recrafting is cheaper by 50% than crafting again. It still isn't free. And I've also thought that recrafting is tuned way too expensive. I think recrafting a piece of gear should be, at best, 10% of the original cost. 50% of the original cost is way too high. Because it's actually then almost off-putting. When people, you know, if in Season 1... In Season 1, you spent 30,000, 40,000 gold creating a piece of top-tier gear, because obviously Season 1, all the mats are really high. And then by Season 2, it's the Shadowlands Legendaries thing again, right? People were so bent out of shape about having to replace all of their Shadowlands Legendaries. You know, there are some people that clearly don't recraft a piece of gear. Also, nobody understands how recrafting works. It's also, yeah, not made easy. The UI is terrible for it as well. The fact that you have to unselect the spark, unselect the crests, put the new ones in. Like, it's just a mess. It's just an absolute mess. I get pushback for this every time. But one simplification I would love to see is making it so that the person that puts in an order provides nothing. The only thing they provide is the commission. I want to see all of the emphasis put on the crafter. This way, it allows crafters to be more savvy. It allows crafters to care about, you know, creating... Because crafters would possibly then even go as far as to, like, you know, spend their concentration on making the intermediate materials so that their average value for those materials decreases. Means that they can then accept cheaper orders. The fact that the person buying the piece of gear has to do 90% of the work is so backwards. Because if they wanted to figure out how all of that shit worked, they would have probably set up the profession themselves anyway. The reason they're getting you to do it is because they couldn't be bothered to set it all up or learn how it works in the first place. So making the person buying the piece of gear jump through 12 hoops to get a piece of gear crafted is just unnecessary. Big game hunter. What's going on here then? That's far too sus for me to have any of that. What's going on with that then? What's going on here then? Why is there 17 on one server for 150 gold apiece all of a sudden? When there's only 180 of them across the entire EU. Oh, it's because it's an engineering recipe. It's crafted. Well, in that case, ignore. Somebody's used it to level engineering. Probably. Yeah. Yeah. Since it's crafted, ignore. Oh, hello. What's going on here? Oh, no. Thought that was a recipe. Okay, we had no luck really with the rares. Let's see if we can snag any more rares before we switch teams. Oh, hello. This realm's all of a sudden got everything available. I kind of like it that it would also restore some of the selling aspect of crafting. A lot of people miss with the new system. You're basically just selling an item from your materials without the auction house. Well, it's an entirely different gameplay loop. It's a service-based way of making gold. You know, and equivalent or comparable, should I say, to like boosting, for example. You're selling a service to people. Which means you have to be just hanging around waiting for somebody to come along, and it's structured in a way so that you can't really, because everything's bind on pickup, you can't front load any of that effort. You just have to wait and hope that a customer wants something, which is a natural turn off to a lot of players to begin with. If you just happen to spend a lot of time chilling between arena queues or between looking for Mythic Plus groups or something in the capital and you're just twiddling your thumbs anyway, then sure, you can have craft scan up and running and fill a few orders. But from a proactive deciding to log on to play the game and going, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to sit in the capital city and wait for people to want things. It's just not very attractive gameplay loop. The concept of crafting for a lot of people is it's a side hustle thing that they like to do in between doing the other things. And if you're locked to being in the capital city to be able to do it, then I can understand why the appeal to do it isn't very strong. A lot of people miss just being able to put crafts on the auction house. Yeah. You and me both. You and me both. I would love to see base items. I would love to see an iteration on what we had in Shadowlands, allowing crafters to craft and list base items. to which then people can buy, and they can add their missives to it, they can add their crest to it, they can add their spark to it to create, you know, to upgrade the base item to what the player wants. The crafting order system could still sit there alongside that for people that, you know, already have some materials and want to provide some of the materials themselves rather than paying the full price for the base item. For anybody that played Shadowlands a lot, you'll remember that it was very common for people to whisper you and be like, I've got some mats, can you craft this for me please? And at the time there was no way to do it, there was no way to facilitate that other than just a direct face-to-face trade. But it shows that there is a need for both systems. And what you will find is, you know, crafters who... You could use concentration more effectively to go towards making these base items, for example. You could use your concentration on professions like tailoring, on professions like leatherworking, where... Or they could rebalance concentration, at least in a way, so it's... You could look at making some of the intermediate materials that make the base items. People could make the base items at a cheaper rate. They could then make 1 or 2 base items a week at a nice competitive price. Yet the market price will hold itself. Hold it, you know, people can cancel scan till their eyes bleed if they really want on them, but... The problem is that the... Blizzard tends to have this pendulum approach to things where Shadowlands Legendaries, for example, caused so much complaints about cancel scanning that they swung the pendulum in completely the opposite direction. They were like, right, well, if you don't like the cancel scanning meta, then we just won't let you put anything on the auction house. It's the best way to get rid of cancel scanning was apparently to nuke your ability to list anything on the auction house, so then you've got nothing to complain about. But maybe it's time for the pendulum to swing a little bit more back to the middle and try and find a compromise between the two systems. Maybe something that allows players to put stuff on the auction house, but also then doesn't make everything bind on pickup. Love craft scan for that. I wish Blizzard introduced a direct whisper system that shows which player can craft an item for them. Yeah, when we first saw the crafting order system, like, one of the very first things I said is, like, why is this only half the system? Where's the other half of the system? Like, there's the bit where people who want to buy stuff can say, hey, look, this is what I want to buy. Where's the thing that says, hey, I'm a crafter, this is what I can sell? Why isn't there a system or an interface that connects those two people together? Craft Scan came along and sort of, you know, half fixed that via an add-on. But it also got itself a bad rep real fast by people believing it was a bot, which is a problem. Because one of the best things about Craft Scan is even if you don't craft, like, you're a mythic raider, and or if you're any player really that looks at getting a piece of gear crafted, if you have Craft Scan, it will also show you the name. You can go to the crafting order vendor, click a button, and it shows you a list of exactly that. It shows you a list of people that are online at the moment that have Craft Scan activated that could craft that for you. You will very occasionally get people whisper you directly saying, can you make this for me, please? And the reason they know you can is because of Craft Scan. So yeah, and once again, an add-on was able to come along and sort of fix that problem. Blizzard could do with a more official version of it. But I kind of feel that we're 2 expansions deep with this new profession system now. I think Blizzard is past the point where they're going to iterate on it all that much. I think they'll do one last pass, they'll simplify it a little bit in Midnight, and then it'll just be on repeat until a few years passes and they overhaul the system again. Ancient Tomb of Portal for Dalaran. Nice. 20k. Uh, 22H Slicks. Yo. Sure. A Sapphire Cub. Seems very cheap for a Sapphire Cub. I'll let that go out too cheaply. Most of my crafts is picking up people from trade chat. With 32% resourcefulness, the fee isn't even that much of an issue. Crafting gear for people and filling work orders is probably now, after 2 expansions, more easier of an activity to swallow. My biggest problem with doing craft orders, both in Dragonflight and in the War Within, is the fact that fucking nobody knew what the hell the system was doing. But it's basically just evolved to that people provide Q3 mats and Q3 mats only. And if they don't provide Q3 mats, it's on the basis that they're not expecting to get max quality out the back of it. The player base has simplified the problem themselves, but at a probably overall cost to themselves. Whereas the amount of time that, you know, people would... The amount of babysitting and teaching and customer service you needed to do to fill orders way back in the day is why I never bothered. I'd be lying if I said I didn't like the lack of competition from the new profession system too, though. People just not bothering with this mess is actually kind of... Well, yeah, it's that's where I guess it is, you know, swings and roundabouts, isn't it? That the more gross it is to most players, the less competition you will have. And also, if you happen to be on not one of the biggest servers, you play on a sort of medium population server, it is quite probable that you might pick up orders on a regular basis just because you might be one of the only people that's proactive with it. Experimented with advertising that I'll source the whole item for people, the crafting as a service, but nobody's interested. The mats aren't the problem. Figuring out what crests and missives you need seems to be the biggest issues for players. Well, yeah, like I said, the community as a whole has basically gone with the theory that, well, if I need the materials, I just buy the Q3 mats. I buy the Q3 mats because then there's no, you know, then it's on the crafter to make sure they don't fuck it up. Nobody in their right mind is asking the crafter, can you do this with Q2 mats? Can you do this with concentration? Can you do that? You know, what are the options here? all options have been removed, and the path of least resistance is just buy Q3 mats and fill the order with Q3 mats. Which isn't really how the system's meant to be. But it's what the player base has just learned works. Don't sell very often, but they're cheap pets. Easy flips. Spread them around. Heavy fell steel ring. Is that a new... I mean, it's Outland. Any Outland recipe is an insta-buy. That price. We've got a few Mechanica on these dudes, actually. Raid these over. Rares killed. Snipers sniped. Auctions listed. Next team. Q3 mats aren't that expensive at this point in the expansion. Well, yeah, exactly. Right now, it's not really that much of an issue. But, you know, people paying 40, 50, 60,000 gold for their crafted, especially plate gear at the beginning of the expansion, it was more of a concern then. When I was taking orders at the start, when it wasn't way too crowded, I always gave them a fee with them supplying Q3 mats. Or with no mats, that was a higher fee for me, but overall they would still be paying less than the Q3 option. Most of them picked supplying the Q3 mats, which was a lot more expensive for them. Yeah, this is why... This is why I've always had pushback anytime I've suggested that how about the person buying the piece of gear provides no mats. Because it seems to be, and as weird as this sounds, it seems to be that people would rather pay more by buying the materials themselves than trust that a goblin is not screwing them over. It seems to be the general consensus. And this stems from Shadowlands, I'm convinced of it. Because throughout Shadowlands, people were so begrudged to pay 30, 40, 50,000 gold for their base items, they were convinced goblins were ripping them off. They were absolutely convinced that goblins were ripping them off. Irrespective of the fact that, you know, Blizzard decides how many materials goes into crafting an item. There was no multi-craft, there was no resourcefulness back in Shadowlands. There was usually, most people would have their TSM set up to have a 10% margin on the base items. And most of the time you were making less than that. There was only maybe peak reset day kind of crazy where you might make a little bit more on your base items. But the reality is that, you know, you were dealing in bulk. You know, the people that made lots of gold from the base legendary items were also playing the game a lot, risking huge amounts, crafting an ungodly quantity of them. But it's for some reason, the general consensus still seemed to be that goblins were ripping them off. That paying 50,000 gold for your rank 7 base legendary item was apparently making that goblin, like, 50,000 gold. No. We bought the materials ahead of time. If we sold it for 50k, there was probably 40,000 plus worth of materials that went into it. But it's so odd to me to see that players would rather overspend than trust somebody else to not rip them off. Oh, Thwack's dead. Missed it. Like, if you remember the Alchemist's Rod, they would rather pay 100k in mats and then a fee of 20k than just giving a fee of 80k with none of the materials, where I could then optimize and use my crafted mats or utilize concentration to give them an overall cheaper price. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I think for the most part, that is because there is choice involved, right? The fact that there's choice involved. If the choice was removed, and people looking at buying pieces of gear had no choice, they didn't have the ability to provide materials. This is what I always wanted with public orders. If players had no ability to provide any materials, that leaves only one variable left, and that one variable is how much of a commission you provide, right? This would mean that people that provide a commission significantly lesser than the total sum of the materials, their orders just wouldn't get filled. And so this would mean there would be some there'd always be that dum-dum that wants their mythic pieces of gear and they put a 1 gold commission and no mats. We had this in it's why the add-on no mats, no make exists in the first place. But what this would do is create a market approved valuation for crafting any item. Now, it would be very, very close to the sum of its parts in terms of value, but like I mentioned, then it would give people a lot more flexibility to be smart with their professions, use their concentration effectively to maybe then be able to take those cheaper orders. And if somebody wants their piece of gear made instantly ahead of the queue, they put an extra 10k tip on it, and it's literally all be the next order that a crafter takes. Blizzard even implemented the little thing in the get. There's a button when you open the craft window that shows you outstanding orders, but the only thing it will show you is the commission paid on that order. But of course, these days it doesn't work because there's never a reason not to fill a public order, because all of the mats are there. And so there is never any outstanding orders to create this kind of market value for each crafted item. It's just not a very smart system, in my overall opinion. And I've never liked it particularly. And I'm with a lot of people when they state that it's overly complex these days. And it's overly complex because Blizzard wanted to make it overly complex. It's certainly not overly complex because it needs to be. Okay, there's no flipping rares anywhere. Apparently Tally's up on this row. Oh, dead. It's crazy, you know. We're in 11.2 and it's still a scenario where if you don't, if you're not at the rare when it spawns on some servers, it's dead. It's dead. That's kind of wild to me. Oh, what do we sell here? 30k. A Gildan. The pet sale. Why are we ranting about the work orders? Is it a slow news day? It would just happen to be the topic of conversation from somewhere. I don't know if I even started it this time. I know I kind of do steer the ship, but... Better than ranting about remix though, right, surely? It's going to be good when we finally see an alpha for Midnight though. And start getting an understanding to what their plans are. All professions in the next expansion. Just one of those days ending in Y. Just to narrow them down a bit, yeah. Filter out the ones we don't like. That's a joke that only really works in English though, doesn't it? Oh well. It works in English. It might work in other languages. Doesn't work in Finnish. Nah, I don't want any of them. Oh, I didn't start the sniper. Tiny shale spider. 600 gold, flip it for a few thousand easy. Eventually, anyway. This is either a really big server or something's gone wrong. This sniper scan's taken ages. Must have a lot to filter through. Eridar. A French realm? Dunno. Not returning anything I'm interested in. Move on. Let's trade these Mechanicas over, actually. Not doing anything, just sat on these dudes. Might as well trade them over. We're not far off turning them into a mount, actually, if we want to. Curiosity, what is the going rate for a Mechanica right now? Mechanica, 36,000 gold. Still holding strong in price. I guess it's no surprise why there's plenty of people in the Undermine still then. Almost works in Finnish. Wednesday's the odd one out. Yeah, Keskiviikko. Doesn't end in the same letter. Is this all the res? Nearly all the res. All the res, just not. Wait, that's where are you going? Where are you going? Wherever you're going, I'm going. You're doing the same thing I'm doing. Oh, what? Now Tally is apparently up again. No, that's lies. I don't believe it. Nitro, thwack done. Tally isn't there. It's a big stinky lie. Swigs is here if we can get there fast enough. Right, that's 3 of the 4. We'll live with 3 of the 4. 3 of the 4's good enough. Oh, stand up straight, dinosaur. Get up, long boy, you're drunk. Regal armor. Ancient pattern, binding of harvested soul, and a garden night owl. Holy, why have I even got these? Flipping warlords of Draenor mount. Lamplighter for 100 gold, 103 gold. That's a win. That's an easy win. I love finding me a lamplighter. Somebody out there, somebody out there is very carefully controlling the price of that lamplighter set, though. It's providing some good snipe opportunities. Mine are rotting in the bank till a few months into midnight. I mean, I've not sold too many of them, but they've been going out at like 50k a pop when they do sell. I'll sell them now at 50k a pop. I'll kick myself if they end up being the next flipping, you know, Corthier shoulders, but I don't quite see that happening. All these do a little search. Curiosity. No, where's it gone? Yeah, look at the going rate on these lamplighter things. Region medians are in the 6 figures for a lot of these. Available on rarely ever more than 10% of the realms. 10 to 20% of the realms have the items for sale. They're not super duper mega interesting appearances, but they're good enough and they're rare enough. And they there's a probability for them being really quite valuable just based on their scarcity alone more than anything else. It will fall into the cat of it. Look what happened with the price of them though. And this is mostly based on the fact that there was a splattering of them available in Season 1 when people were doing Hallowfall on a regular basis, but since nobody's running around Hallowfall particularly, they are very artificially inflating right now, but if you spot one for any less than a few thousand gold, they're not terrible to go pick up. But yeah, they're artificially exploding in value. So it's hyper inflated, but you know, we're talking about a relatively unique appearance that has, at the end of an expansion, like almost single-digit quantities across the entire region. Total arse to farm for, though. Yeah, exactly. That'll be one of those things that its value will be based on its scarcity. And if you're not proactively out there farming, then they just don't exist. That's kind of why. And if they don't exist during the expansion that they're from, you can bet your ass they're not going to exist ever going forward. Blue and silver armor. I'm going to find it very difficult to not buy one of those for 375 gold, considering I sold one literally earlier today for 180,000 gold. Yoink. Nothing there stands out. We got 3 of the 4 rares. That'll do. Yeah, I've not even totally looked into exactly how you can acquire them, but do they only drop from the boxes? Is that what's been determined? Like I said, I've not looked into it in great detail, but I just know that they drop in Hallowfall from summon. No rares. Slugger. No rares, no rares. Well, I guess we do Slugger then. Yeah, but you can get shared appearances from Awakening the Machine event, I believe, but equally RNG. Also likely to be something that people won't be doing past the end of the expansion.
Maybe you should let them know they found it.
It's one of those things. Put it on the sniper list. Snag them up if you find them cheap. they'll fall into the category of once a month miracle sales going forward. One single miracle sale will cover the cost of 80% of your stock in one go. Hard to lose. There's something I've always wondered, you know. It doesn't, or, well, it kind of maybe happens, but maybe not so much anymore. But I've always wondered about those players that post one of, or what it feels like they post just one of every material that is in existence at 400,000 gold, or like 276,000 gold, you know, for a piece of linen cloth. I've always wondered, whilst it feels like a complete and utter scam and you're just waiting for somebody to make a horrible mistake, I have always wondered, how often does that horrible mistake happen? I can only assume it happens often enough to make it worth these people doing. The horrible mistake, of course, being somebody goes to buy a bunch of materials and accidentally buys everything on the auction house instead of just, like, the cheap ones. Often enough to pay for the almost non-existent listing costs of... Well, this is it. Like, this is it. I've seen horror stories enough. I've seen a few of them. And if you've seen a few horror stories, it probably happens significantly more often, because think about how many times it happens to people and they're absolutely not going to tell anybody because it's ridiculous. Some people are happy to wallow in their own misery. Most people are not. One of those things you'd probably keep quiet, yeah. Okay, we've run out of rares again. Real do. Probably a similar chance of somebody buying a transmog. Well, nobody accidentally buys a piece of transmog, do they? But it clearly happens that somebody accidentally, for whatever reason and however it happens, accidentally buys out the entire supply of a material, including the one or two that are listed at 400k a piece. There's a new Elon YouTube video. Making gold caps, selling every material at 500,000 gold. Can you imagine how many downvotes that thing would farm? Holy! Be funny though. The rage bait. Sold a bunch of the War Within profession items for like 90 silver each the other day, because somehow I added them into something wonky on TSM without noticing. Sounds like the TSM default operation strikes again. My advice to most people when it comes to using TSM if they're new is delete the default auctioning operation. Just delete it. That way you can't accidentally sell something for way, way, way under market price. TSM's default auctioning operation has the chance to list your stuff at 25% of its crafting cost, which is like, oh my. What's a Bloodwake helmet? Bloodwake. Item level 60. That means it's got to be some classic thing, hasn't it? Some random ass classic thing. Not sure I'm interested in that. Hungary competitor's pickaxe. 200 gold. Sure. Reinforced sounds like crafted. Don Gonzalez's shiny shield. No idea what the Christ that is. 600 gold. Sure, why not? There's only one of them. Flip it around. Lunar Glow staff. What the hell are you? Not interesting enough for me to pay attention, I don't think. Oh. Interesting appearance, though. Fuck it, why not? Nope. Nothing going on there. Nope. You kill enough rares? Killed a couple of them. Next team. Oh, that's what we like to see. A realm that has everybody on. That makes the Mechanica farm nice and easy. Quickly nuke down every mob. Go 4 for 4, hopefully. Although tally doesn't seem to be up on this realm, actually. Visual check just in case. No. Might get 3 of the 4 then. Yeah, I'm massively out of stock of Mechanica pets and mounts. With testing Remix quite heavily recently, and just with Season 3 in general. I knew this was going to happen, but like my upkeep of the Mechanica farm has dropped. I certainly am absolutely not flying them around and killing all the weekly stuff anymore. Which has meant that my Mechanica count per week is pretty low right now. But I need to keep on top of it more. Because whilst this cross-realm flipping journey is getting there, it's still not sufficient enough to cover the cost of the extra accounts. So I still need to rely a little bit on the profit from the Mechanica farm to pay bills. But if before we leave the War Within and before we head into midnight, we stock up on stuff, and then it's just a simple relist. Put a bunch of stuff in a guild bank for 6 months until everybody's forgotten about it and its value goes up. Usually plenty of opportunities to pick up cheap things towards the end of an expansion. As one of two things tends to happen. People clear out their bags, their guild banks of anything from that expansion, and it tanks the price of stuff, massively oversupplying it on the market. And then secondly, once everybody, the supply of those items, once we get into the new expansion, then often becomes basically non-existent. Right, I'm going to let the sniper scan, and I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. I'll be back in 2. It's really nasty weather outside today. We've had like a second summer almost the last few days. It's been like 22, 23 degrees. But today it's 10 degrees and pouring down with rain. It's grim. Right, any bargains? Any bargains? Well, look. Autumn is officially kicking in, clearly. Was cold in bed for the first time in a while last night. Yeah, I think we closed the bedroom window for the first time in quite a while. Wave Breaker Mechasaur. Are these things cheap then now? There's a few of them. Spread those about. Nothing else going on there. Nothing going on there. Nothing going on there. Nothing going on there. Wow, that was a poor showing. Thought wishing you a happy birthday. What's Pirate Software doing wishing me a happy birthday? Every window had some condensation on the outside in the morning. Yeah, it's getting to that time of the year, isn't it? It's getting there. Perfect time to sit indoors and play video games. Can't complain about that one. know we were talking about this a little bit the other day, but not to sort of dwell on it so much, but it's when you look at the weather outside and you realise that you get to sit indoors and play video games all day. You know, it really slams home for me that I have absolutely the dream job. So much so that it's, you know, sometimes hard to even use the J word to describe it. Four for 4 on the rares. Love some of that. Wish every team had all 4 just up and easy to kill. Process much quicker. Although, actually, saying that, the fact that we're killing all of the rares and doing our auction stuff and doing a shopping scan, this actually, believe it or not, hasn't taken as long as I actually expected it to. I mean, we haven't finished yet, mind, but... I would much rather spend, you know, a couple of hours doing this every few days than a couple of hours doing concentration alts, for example. Who's over there? And while it's well, the flipping side of things is still a lot more random. We don't have enough for sale yet across all of the realms for the sales to be that consistent. Every time I empty all the mailboxes, I could probably average it out to a few, I don't know, about 250,000 gold a day I think this generates right now in revenue. Now that's not to say that all that 250,000 gold is profit, but because obviously we have to buy the things, but as we have seen, a lot of the times when we do sell something, it's a nice healthy margin on it. And occasionally you get a wonder sale like a 190,000 gold recipe sale you bought for 5k. That makes it all worthwhile. It's pizza day today, though. I look forward to Fridays. I get annoyed when some weeks the wife is like, do we have to have pizza today? Yes, it's Pizza Friday. Yes. Draconic Vial Cauldron? For 75 gold? Yes, please. I was going to grab that one before the rest of the scan even finishes. Yeah, not only is it Pizza Friday, it's Birthday Pizza Friday. Hell yeah, brother. Wombo combo. That means it's Pizza Friday and I don't have to pay for it. Fucking genius, that. Absolute genius. How many servers do you do this on? Every server in the EU. So, a little over 80 realms. Excluding the Russian ones. So you need a different client to load into those, and I'm not messing around with that. Gruff scale leggings. What the hell are you? Too cheap for me to piss about with, I think. Too cheap to mess about with. Okay, next team. Pulling my hair out, reposting on like 20 every day. Well, I also only do 20, but I do 4 at a time. So, 20 times 4, boom, 80. And I don't consider, I don't consider the extra time taken a multiple of 4, like, because, wombo combo things. Plus also comboing it with killing rares. So it's multi-purpose right now. Multi-purpose. Every Mechanica that drops by doing this is still worth about 35,000, more than 35,000 gold, so Mechanicas alone make the effort worth it. The flipping on all the realms is just a nice bonus at the moment. The only reason I like my birthday is because I don't have to pay for Domino's once a year. Shit's a rip-off here, but I enjoy it. I miss Domino's. I miss Domino's pizza. I was a simple man with Domino's pizza. Either double pepperoni or a meat feast. Easy business. Always herb and garlic dip. Always. For the crusts. My go-to Domino's order. They literally will not allow me to spend less than 30 quid just for me. It's ridiculous. Oh, so they have minimum order values on these days. Yeah, that's gross. Or is it minimum order value to qualify for free delivery kind of rubbish? Come back to rares in a minute, because apparently they don't exist on these shards. No! Barely a single sale on any 4 realm. The Domino's once with a cheese burst crust. It was an experience. Stuffed crust, I think, is a cool concept. But stuffed crust is the type of thing I would only ever eat. Like at a Pizza Hut, for example, I'd do a stuffed crust. Because it comes out the oven and it lands on your table within like a matter of seconds, or at least it should. Stuffed crust takeout, the fact that it's going to be out the oven for a good 25 minutes, bare minimum, before you get to start eating it. Takeout pizza is, stuffed crust, it needs to be hot, like burn your face level hot. Otherwise the cheese starts to condense again and it's like, ugh, it's not the same. Had a hot dog stuffed crust. What? So there's like just a big sausage around the edge. What? Okay, sure. My local pizzeria is called Romano's. It's actually decent, 16 quid for a large. Romano's. They knew what they're doing. That's really quite funny. We got dominoes at home. You can only post cancel spam on 2 monitors at a time, right? One unfocused window and scroll wheel on the other one on the keybind. Oh, I don't even do that. I don't even have the scroll wheel. I just click. I'm clicking because I'm hoping I break the mouse, so then I have a really good excuse to go buy a new one. Or maybe we'll get the Elgato foot pedal at some point. I must hate that mouse. It's genuinely one of the cheapest, crappiest, nastiest mice. But considering I don't really play FPS games, I don't really feel the need for a high-performance mouse. It's also wired. I want a wireless one. But I'm inevitably going to end up buying the flipping Logitech wireless charging mat thing and a Logitech mouse. Because I want wireless, but I don't want the faff of having to remember to charge the motherfucker. I want it to wireless. I want it to be wireless, and I want it to also passively wireless charge. As far as I'm aware, there's only one option for that on the market these days. It's that stupidly expensive Elgato mouse mat. No, Logitech mouse mat, sorry. Man's willing to spend €300 on occasional desktop speakers, yet will only spend €10 on a mouse. Confused. Well, I clearly prefer sound quality than the accuracy of a tiny little laser. Annoyingly enough, all of the nicer Logitech mice I've bought have died much faster than the old crappy ones. Kind of partly the reason why I don't feel the need for a fancy high-performance mouse. Because I also do think that A, there's significantly more margin in those products, and B, there's probably more to go wrong in it. Like I said, if I, was semi-pro CSGO kind of FPS sort of player, maybe. I will say, though, I definitely noticed playing the BF6 beta that my mouse was letting me down. I definitely knew my mouse was letting me down. The deceleration drift on the mouse is gross. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but when you stop and the mouse still, the pointer keeps going. Definitely the mouse. Definitely the mouse. What's it? The best workman always blames his tools, right? Something along those lines. Right, nothing interesting here. Anything interesting here? Language repository doodary thing. That's part 3 of 3. Somebody knows what they're doing selling those at 500 gold. That's not a deal. A Brawler's Pass? Do those still exist? Jesus. Getting access to the Brawlers Guild for all characters on your warband. Wait, really? I'm buying that just out of curiosity. Hell of a deal for 1 silver. That's not a, this is also another blue and silver armor for 75 gold. 180,000 gold we sold this for earlier. This is why I buy these 75 gold. Oh, and we've landed on the realm that has the Papal Fez for 500k. Ugh. This is one of those I could spend 500k and never sell it. Be one of those that it just never resells. But it could also be one of those that when it then does resell, it could be funny. Yeah, actually, these ballers passed their regional market average value is still 50k. Admittedly, they don't sell for much, but can't argue with 1 silver, can you? Okay, did we kill many of the rares on these dudes? No, we killed like literally nobody. Let's have another quick go killing the rares on these dudes. Who we got here? Swigs. That's a very good start. Greetings, sir. Channeled any Ranthiuses today? A small Ranthius fell out. A small Ranthius fell out. We squeezed out a small one, just a nugget. Somebody mentioned work orders and I couldn't resist. Welcome in, Mikey. Nitro and Tally. That's the 2 we need. Spent 200k on engineering, mining, restock. Feels good to be able to do that. On an engineering restock? What, for making parts and stuff? Or for making all the toys and bits and pieces? Some good luck I wanted to share. Entered a competition for 25p. Won £350. That's the Epic Edition instantly paid for. Go on. Collector's Edition. Go for it. Go for it. That's a win. 25p to enter a competition. Wins 350. I'd say go buy a lottery ticket, but you've already won. Fair play. Oh, all the things stuff. Oh, I see. People are lazy, so I smelt the ores. It works. Most goblineering revolves around somebody else being lazy. If nobody in this game was lazy, there'd be no profit in anything. Swig's just going to chill there. I mean, if Swigs is just going to chill there, we'll invite people in. A quick and easy Swigs kill. Unless there's a shard that has flipping every man and their dog open. No, we'll do Swigs. Swigs and Thwack, actually. On Draenor of all realms. Lazy people in real life for a gold mine too. Meal prep, for example, and ready meals in supermarkets. Very true. Yeah, supermarket ready meals are a good way to amplify both your waistline and also your monthly food spend. Says us who were talking about Domino's Pizza only 2 minutes ago, but this is a do as I say, not as I do kind of channel. Why is that all on the piss? There we go. Slugger.
Dog fuse. Again? Always looking for trouble. Well, maybe you should let
Adamantite
'em
is a
know
chore
they
to
found
smelt though. Got 5k waiting for me, but the bolts do sell. I can't remember which ones it was, but a lot of the market prices for bars, this is probably not true anymore, but a lot of the market prices were for bars. Like, bars were always like double the price of the ore, because it was generally assumed that it was 2 pieces of ore to 1 bar. Yet then there was 1 ore in 1 expansion where it was 1 to 1. And it basically meant if you were willing to smelt it, you'd double your money every time. I can't remember exactly what ore and what bar it was, but I remember printing gold for years off that. Anytime I could be bothered to just leave my account AFK smelting, you would basically double your money. Okay, that's all 4 rares done. Whoa, that's not what we want. Gold plated. Nada. What we still got in there? Why are you not opening? You seen the new Domino's pizza advert with a guy shaving his balls and the Domino's guy comes out the bedside drawer? No. No, I haven't. That sounds like one of those adverts that a company makes that only ever is used for online marketing because there ain't no broadcasting company that will broadcast it. I will watch it later because that very much sounds like the kind of video that will get my entire YouTube stream copyrighted for the day. Bolts of cloth, smelting ores, making inks. That's what's funded my profession leveling. Fair play. Fair play. Get your hustle on. Split lens specs. They're crafted as well, aren't they? Pretty sure they're crafted. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're crafted by Jawn Crafting. Or are they the, yeah, they're definitely crafted. There's no way there's that many of them without them being crafted. Oh, Dentag, also known as Taran Mill. We'll give that a minute. That's still cooking. Nothing there. Nothing there. Right, what are you saying? There'll be more popping up in a minute. Ooh. 2 of them. 2 of them. Oh. Part of me says I should. Part of me says I shouldn't. I don't actually have the gold on this server right now to even buy one of them if I wanted to. I need to keep a lit on these bigger servers where there's often some bigger deals. I should actually try and keep a bit more gold. I tend not to sell much on these realms, but you know, your silver moons, your Taran mills, your Kazakhs. I end up buying a lot of stuff from them, but I don't sell a lot back out. Flipping out. Am I gonna? I don't know. Woo! Go buy these instructors' mantles. There's 2 of them on Dentarg. They're cheap. I'll pass on that one. Out of my league for now. Let's take you and trade you over your Mechanica. Where'd you go? Who's yoinked the Mechanica? There it is. Everything I sell on Draenor's going to flippers, I'm sure. Well, I mean, it's such a big server. It pushes the price of everything down, which, yes, will have the effect of that people will buy it on Draenor, take it somewhere else. But ultimately, a sale's a sale, you know? Need to get barter boulders for dragonflight mounts. Barter boulders, you can buy them with Dragon Isle supplies. Can you not? I'm pretty sure you can buy barter boulders with Dragon Isle supplies. Didn't really play Dragonflight at all. There's a hyperspawn for Dragon Isle supplies that nets you about 8k an hour. I don't know how many you need. Grabbed them. There we go. I knew somebody would want those. No rares, no rares, no rares, no rares. What's going on here then? What? No, that's a lie. There's a swigs on this realm. For the lesser educated, I should probably explain what I was talking about. Those instructors' mantles are Korthia shoulders, which are very, very, very low drop rate, incredibly expensive transmog items. Now, there's a whole bunch of Korthia shoulders. Some are definitely worth more than others. Some are more difficult to get than others. But it's a good long-term flip. Even 100k, you can probably list them for 500,000 gold and they will eventually sell. I'm just not at the point where I want to tie up 200,000 gold of gold on something that could take quite so long. Wu, on the other hand, has got money to burn, so it makes more sense for him to grab them.
Dark Fuse. Again? Always looking for trouble. Well, maybe you should let them know they found it.
Slugger seems easier to kill. Slugger. Yeah, Slugger. I don't know whether my DPS has gone up, but he definitely feels easier to kill these days. I mean, in theory, my DPS should have gone up. I'm 705 item level nowadays. I'm actually pretty geared by most standards. Which is odd to say for somebody that doesn't raid or do M+. Ah, alright. Are we going to just live with 2 rares? It looks like I'm going to live with just 2 rares. Maybe by the time we've done auction house stuff, we'll find some more. Wow, no sales. Stinky. I don't have the rep level needed to buy them with resources. Oh, I didn't even realise there was a rep requirement to do that. Oh, okay then. Well, you can farm a few barter boulders each day. You just got to fly around and pick up the treasure things, but it's annoying. That's why I still don't have the stupid big hat thing, even though it's a cool transmog. Because it was like 250 barter boulders or something, and I was like, not doing that. Renown 20 is the unlock for it. You can get to like Renown 12 or something just by doing the campaign quest out there. I remember Renown 20 with the Niffins not being too much of a task. Then again, doing it when it was current content was probably much easier than going back and doing it now. Main issue is remembering about the expansion in the first place. Yeah. Yeah, it's very... It's, I always find that it's, I forget the mechanics of zones very quickly once we leave them. My brain clearly only has so much capacity. Right, what we got going on over here? Heavy fell steel ring. Sure. Feast of the Midnight Masquerade. This is actually, unironically, still worth quite a lot. Why is somebody selling that for 2,500 gold? What have I missed there? What have I missed there? Why is somebody flogging that off so cheap? Maybe it was just a deal. Unironically, I might send that to my main character, because I probably don't have that recipe yet. Big old list. Nothing that I want. Melt Inebriated Sorrows. This is another one of those ones that has different appearances depending on the item level of it. I really need to learn which ones are the valuable ones, so you don't get baited. Like, for example, this 207 item level one is probably going to have a different appearance to the Mythic 211 one. without installing, without having ATT on these accounts, it's hard to tell which is which and which one might be valuable. At the moment, I just ignore them. The hell? What the Christ is this? I mean that... What? Just what? Somebody taking the piss with that? Why is there a 33% sale rate? How is it that only 3 of these... For every 3 of these that get listed, 1 of them sell? That's serious level broken data on that one. I'm not even going to try and figure out why that's a thing. Oh, there's our 25 Mechanica. There's another mount. It's best part of 1 million gold, easy. See if we can snag another rare or 2. Nitro. Pick Nitro. How many mounts or pets a week do you sell? I don't really track that much the sales anymore. I'm not really concerned about how quick they sell. I know since 11.2, a lot of people who have been more proactive with this than me have said there's a distinct decline in the sales. That's kind of expected. They're not so much forefront of people's minds to collect or buy right now. But I personally couldn't care less how long they take to sell. They'll go on the pile of things to sell, and when they sell, they sell. $110 alts, making about 4 mil a week, thinking of maybe doing this. If you've already got a system that's making you over 10 mil a month, then just keep doing whatever that is. Although, I do think this Mechanica farm is going to be pretty evergreen. Which is why I was so willing to spend time and effort in setting it up. Because never ever ever have mounts that can be listed on the auction house ever really not been worth paying attention to. I mean, prime example, look at the BFA world drop mounts that are still farmed for and still sold and still sell for a pretty penny to this day. Do they sell less frequently? Yes. But that doesn't change the fact that they're still valuable. And the fact that these Mechanica pets and mounts takes significantly more effort to farm up and acquire, because you have to farm the Mechanica first. You have to farm 25 Mechanicas just to get one mount. BFA mounts, somebody, you know, occasionally might just level through BFA and get one accidentally. There's no accidentally getting 25 Mechanicas. Accidentally getting 25 Mechanicas isn't possible. Still doing my old world raw gold farm here, quite comfy, whilst discovering new and often overlooked things, because I play the game vastly differently to everybody else. Is that still, without going into too much details about doxing what that little opportunity is, unless you're willing to talk about it yourself anyway, but hasn't the recent loot changes hindered the profitability of that? Since people are not so proactively farming in that one zone anymore. Assuming we're both referring to the same one. Primordial boggling. 1,000 gold. Sure. Snowclaw Cub. Bought 4 of these not so long ago for 2,500 gold apiece. Somebody is farming these. Maybe I don't want any more of those since I've bought some recently. And there's something going on with them. Shelly for 6,500 gold though is we'll have a few Shellies on the cheap. Still working. Loot changes actually made things better, and with Chromie time scaling, it makes it more lucrative. There's another as well, averaging 50 to 70k an hour scrolling the mouse. Assuming I obtain said items without farming them myself. Fair play. I remember doing the maths on that one, and there was like a cut-off point. But considering most people think they're a byproduct, most people don't realise they have value themselves. So I'm deliberately being slightly cryptic here, not to give away Mikey's little gold mine. A festival suit? Nah. That comes from the winter event, doesn't it? I'm pretty sure it does. Right. One more team of rares, 2 more teams of auctions. Not found too many bargains today. We found a few. But we've also... I don't know. What do we think the grand total is today? We had that one big sale at 200k. So I'd say with everything else added up as well, probably 400k of sales today. Not terrible. All goes nicely in the pile at least anyway. Ooh. Shard with everybody up. Does that everybody include Swigs? It does. These are actually my jewel crafters as well. Should probably look at the profitability of prospecting at some point as well. I'm still pretty convinced that if blasphemites are still highly valuable, that means there's a little bit of money to be made in thaumaturgy, and if there's money to be made in thaumaturgy because not many people are doing it right now, I also have the suspicion that prospecting is probably also got a nice profit margin in it right now also. I need to dig out my spreadsheet though to check the prospecting maths. I don't have a cheeky way of doing that in game. Should look into farming some pets. Some go for crazy money considering I waste enough time farming transmog. I find pets significantly easier to flip than I do transmog, which also means I'm willing to buy pets at usually a higher price than I am transmog. If I buy a piece of transmog, it has to be an absolute deal. It has to be something that I can then potentially sell out for 10 times what I pay. But for pets, I'm willing to... If a pet is just cheap, I'll probably buy it because I know eventually I'll flip it around. When it comes to farming the pets, I wouldn't necessarily say that there's too much value in farming the pets because there's usually not that much of a shortage of them anyway. But because a lot of the pets that are deemed valuable are ones that are just really RNG to get. And maybe somebody has to farm them, I guess, otherwise they wouldn't exist, but I wouldn't recommend being the one farming them. Pet battle dungeons. I like using the auto pet scripts. Yeah, pet battle dungeons is one that once you get a team of pets and you get a script set up and you can pretty much just scroll a mouse wheel or press a button to quickly complete them each week. Even with like scripts and stuff set up though, you'll still find that the pet battle dungeons still take like 20 minutes, half an hour to do. They're still not that quick to do. But there are some pets that only come out of the bags and only drop very rarely, and you only get 1 bag a week sort of thing, so it's a bit of a gamba, but if you hit the jackpot, then... Well, I mean, it's always good if you hit the jackpot, innit? But... Usually find 30 to 60k gold per hour in prospecting throughout the day. Yeah, I'm quite sure that prospecting is frequently profitable. The difficulty with prospecting is I often see that it's the market for the... It's why ore is so aggressively bait priced and bot bought. Because people that run those bots, instead of just reselling the ore, they launder it through prospecting and then sell all the gems and the dusts and everything that comes from it. So there is some illegitimately gained profits from some people out there with prospecting, but there's usually still some gold in it either way. Ornament favor. Regional sale average of 25k. Very, very rarely sells, but there's one here for 10k. Sure. Who was talking about wanting to find a decent ring earlier? On the cheap. There's plenty on this realm. Entropy of the Fever Flare. 701, 3 of 6 hero ring. 600k. With a socket. Haste Mastery. Not terrible stats either. Well, they all seem to claim to be Haste Mastery. Means that they're probably not. I don't know what I'm looking for in these, though. This is why I used to flip raid BOEs. But I would only really... If it requires too much babysitting for me to flip raid BOEs. Stupid money in it, though, if you do it right. But you got to do it quickly and you got to babysit them. And the best way to do it is to like spreadsheet the shit out of it and like buy them from cheap places and then track where you're listing them and then babysit those auctions wherever you're... There's a lot of gold to be made in it, but to do it properly it takes a lot of time and effort as well. I'd much rather find something that's cheap and then just relist it forever in a day and take an easy win that way. Considering raid BOEs have a relatively strict timeline on them. If you don't buy them and sell them within like a short period of time, there's the imminent collapse in value of them. Why they need babysitting. But it's why if you're good at it, you can buy a BOE from one server, take it to another and sell it for double. Literally within an hour. You know what you're doing. Right, there we go. Last team to check, not to kill rares, but to do a quick auction scan. Main problem is the more bulk you buy in, the higher your average cost. So it's best to buy low amounts periodically as the prices go below a certain threshold. Yeah, you want to be scraping the bottom 5% of the market, like... You want to, you know, scrape the bottom 5% off once a day, once every 12 hours, something like that, rather than just dipping in and buying out the bottom 30% of the market, unless it really has stacked up. Oh, here's the rest of yesterday's Thaumaturgy sales. Look, do we have anything still on the auction house? Why will it not let me? There we go. Some more Blasphemites, some more Storm Dust, some more Orbinid. Or Blasphemites. The alarm, the doggo alarm is going off. The doggo alarm is going off relatively early, you know. Probably because she didn't get much of a walk this morning because it was pouring down with rain. I can't believe how expensive Blasphemites were when I came back. They used to be less than 100 gold, I'm sure. The demand for them is much higher in Season 3, though. The demand is almost double, I would imagine, what it was in Season 2, which could have definitely had an influence on it. Since everybody went into Season 2 with Seer's Circlet on, so there was half as many gems needed for that thing, because you were only wearing one ring. And on top of the fact that it's been most people are turning around and claiming that it's been a better raid this season than it was last season, so it's kept people's interest in it for longer. Good raid is good for business. These realms are shit for deals, though. The whole lot of them. Damn. All useless realms. Right. In that case, then. That's them lot sorted. That, then, is all of my auction house activities donezo. Now, I could, and I probably should, start on doing some extra bits and pieces. But, considering it's Friday, considering it's Ding Day, IRL, I might call it there for today, boys and girls. I might go get myself some lunch, chill out for the afternoon, see if the wife's got any plans for food. Enjoy the birthday pizza, thank you very much, I will do. I have plans tomorrow, which will mean no stream tomorrow. There probably won't be a bonus stream this weekend. I have plans tomorrow, and I have things I probably should do then on Sunday. So playing video games might not be the highest priority for me this weekend. So chances are I will see you all on Monday. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Whatever it is you're doing, whether you're playing video games, going out, socialising with friends, whatever, have fun. Thanks all for stopping by this week. The fact that we didn't get an alpha this week leads me to believe that there's a very strong chance alpha turns up next week. They can't, you know, even Ian said at Gamescom almost a month ago now, a few short weeks we will start the alpha testing. It's definitely already been a few short weeks since he said that, so alpha can't be that far away, which will mean we'll get a first look at midnight. We'll be able to, if I can get access to alpha, have a little poke around some of the professions, which would be good to see. So make sure you've hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, get the notifications switched on over on the Discord if you haven't already for the live streams. Yeah, could be fun. Anyway, enjoy your weekend. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you all next time. Peace.